They were so lucky, Craig.
Well, that guy, Bellingham, saved Southgate's bacon. There's no doubt about it. The knives are probably still out, but they were sharpened somewhat, as every journalist had to rewrite their piece because it was they were going to get slammed. You don't say this very often about a team in a quarter-final, this was a magnificent piece of skill, and we covering La Liga every week have seen this from Jude Bellingham, even in games like this Euros where he's been quiet and England have been poor, and even at times when Real Madrid have been poor, he has done the most amazing things and it's why he's one of the stars, the young stars of the modern game. But England, although they're in the quarter-final, have been embarrassingly poor performances in every game. Poor tactics, poor team selection, poor substitutions, and I include the ones that he got away with today. I mean, no changes at half-time. What? Really? Cole Palmer comes on, I get that, 66 minutes. Eze, 84. Ivan Toney, 93 and a half.
Yep.
And by the way, he'll say, well, that was okay, it worked for me, but come on. So, England, again, this is not a Scottish angle, this is an honest angle. I repeat myself, if it wasn't for this easy pathway thus far, and I give Slovakia a lot of credit, but they're 40-odd places behind in the FIFA rankings. They're very limited. I give them so much credit. But if it wasn't for this pathway, England would be out, because thus far in this competition, they have been garbage.
Well, they haven't been garbage at making other teams look much better than them. We saw it again with Slovenia, Slovakia, Denmark, second half Serbia. Yeah. It's again and again. It's the same slow, lethargic play. No connection in the final third. That Bellingham shot was their first on target. That sums it all up.
It's kind of hard to figure out where to start. And I guess you've got to start with the manager. The fact that he went with his tried and trusted at the start of the game was OK, I get it, I understand it. The group stages were horrible, but it's a different ball game, different animal. As Craig said, to be that bad in the first half and to come back out in the start of the second with no changes is absolutely scary. I'm sorry. That is not acceptable. You've had 3.5 games to get some rhythm, to get some form, to get some chances, to get some goals, and you've come up blank again, but you keep it the way it is. I mean, Southgate, really. And if I can fast forward to extra time, when they go ahead at extra time, the one thing that they've been guilty of, England, when they've gone ahead, since Southgate was there, is drop in way too deep. Now, that's when the manager has to be on the sideline screaming at them to get up. Right. You don't need to have done all your coaching badges to figure that one out. But where was he? He sat in his chair, just letting it all happen. And they're all sat on the edge of the box. And there was a couple of close calls just because they're sitting in their own box. I mean, listen, they're through. It's to do with Jude Bellingham. For me, I guess it's 50-50. Southgate's been terrible. His players have been terrible. As bad as the decision Southgate's made, the players have been as bad, except Bellingham.
Just quickly before the boys react, I sort of skipped that interview that we ran at the top. Bellingham, what game is he talking about? Frankie?
You don't see the same game.
I mean, I'll give them their due. England, they've got the siege mentality, moaning about everybody and seeing this was a great. They've got this they've fixed the bayonet and going, you're saying we're playing badly? We're playing really well. That was incredible.
Now, as you said, it's coming from a French guy, but it's an honest answer about what I saw today. I was so surprised by the poverty of their football. And Jude Bellingham wasn't at the level that we used to see him. So everybody's going to forget, because the bicycle goal and the fact that he saved a nation with that goal is going to erase everything. And everybody for a decade is going to see that goal, this beautiful goal. But otherwise, I didn't see anything that I wanted to see. I wanted to see a reaction from that team that you want to go on the knockout stages. And again, it could have been worse. On the goal of Trent, and he scored, Gay makes a foul, and if he falls, it's a penalty and a second yellow card. Therefore, a red card for Gay, and it's a total different game and different ball game. And everything I saw, every time I saw, passing the minutes of the game, that England couldn't go there.
No.
And Slovakia, I would have been upset if I was a Slovakian supporter. I say, you were fantastic for 94 minutes. Why you couldn't hold 1 minute more, you know? But that's football. That's the beauty of football. And special players, sometimes they do special actions. And Bellingham and then Kane showed it to the world. But otherwise, that's so poor. I don't see them going through if they keep on working like that.
I suppose the other point, the other changing thing that could have changed the game was that, I can't remember exactly when it was in the second half.
Is that the long shot?
The long shot. And I think that summed England up, was the free kick was taken and they're just completely on a different page, whoever it was, I can't remember, and Pickford is out. And I think that kind of sums England up. That should have been a goal. It was a catastrophic free kick, and it's kind of where they are and where they've been. They're all over the place.
It was 94 minutes and 34 seconds into the game. That's the latest regulation Euro goal by an Englishman. 21 years, 1 day is the youngest Englishman to score in the knockout stages. We've seen 6 stoppage time goals this season from Bellingham for club and country. And don't forget as well the Valencia one, which got chalked off, which shouldn't have been either, when the ref blew the whistle for full time. And as I mentioned, that goal was England's first shot of the match. Jules, I promise I'll come to you in a minute. I just want to get it from an ex-professional's point of view. Is that why you leave Jude Bellingham on, despite the fact he did nothing in the game? Because someone like that, with that skill, can produce that sort of moment.
Absolutely. Listen, generally, I think Gareth Southgate's lucky, because generally, the question you're asking, usually a team has a couple of players who, unless they've lost a leg, they have to stay on, because you know, as bad as they've been, as much as they may not have been in the game, you know you need a goal from nothing. And you need players that can do that. And actually, if there's one thing you can say about England, they've actually got more than Jude Bellingham. And when I say that about players that can produce something from nothing. So he's lucky, you know, we say it all the time. It doesn't matter how good or how bad you are, but if you've got some quality, you can always pull it out. And if you ever want an example of that, you've just seen it today.
What were you going to give him, 2 out of 10 before he scored?
Oh, no, I was ready to give him a 2, between 2 or 3. And I was talking with Louise, the producer of today's show, and she texted me, said, what do you want to give him, 2? I said, well, not anymore, because he scored at that time.
Yes, yeah.
I say, nobody's going to care about my mark right now. It's going to be a 10 out of 10. Because he saved a nation, and everything is going to be, as I said, erased by his magnificent bicycle kick. And that's crazy. That's football. That's the beauty of football. It's what I like about it. The surprise is, even if you are bad, at some point you can be the hero. So from 0, let's say, or 2 or 3 to hero. But that's Jude Bellingham. I mean, throughout the season, we saw many times where he disappeared.
Yes.
And he wasn't the Bellingham of the beginning of the season. But by some special thing, because he's a special player, he comes back to the front page.
We watched the Clásicos together, Craig. We were laughing, weren't we, when we saw him score those goals, obviously, at Montjuic against Barcelona, because he's kind of writing his own fairy tale here.
Yeah, particularly in the first 6 months of the season or so, and then he obviously, you know, had a little period where he went a little bit flat for him, which was to be expected. But England haven't found a way to get him influencing the game, or Foden, or Saka, or Harry Kane. Any of them, they haven't found a balance that's been able to get them really influencing the game for long periods, for sustained periods where they've got the opposition on the back foot for 10 and 15-minute periods where they can't get out. Like we see Man City doing, Real Madrid, Arsenal this season, where we've seen them play at home against, you know, mid-table, mediocre Premier League teams, and they can't get a touch. Well, England have played mediocre countries, and yet we're in a scenario where they're allowing these teams to look good. And it's on the man. I think it's on the manager. I really do. I think it's his approach, it's his tactics, it's his team selection, and there's no way they should be allowing the amount of pressure that they've been put under by the likes of the teams that they've played.
Jules, the thing that frustrates England fans, obviously, that today wasn't an anomaly. This is expected now with England to play this badly.
Yeah, and we didn't have to wait for today to know that Southgate is useless. You know, as a head coach, that those players don't know how to play, don't know how to build up their faces, don't know how to press, they don't know any of that. But this is not new, like you said. We've seen that through this whole tournament. I really thought today they would improve. I really thought to start Mainu, for example, was the start of something better. And actually, we could even argue that this was maybe the worst first half in this tournament, even worse than what we've seen so far. And the only thing I think maybe is the most important now is that they cannot be in denial. Because that Jude Bellingham interview that we played, he's just lying completely. He's lying to himself, he's lying to us, to the fans, because this is not the reality. This is not the truth. They didn't play well today. They didn't control anything, really. Yes, they had the love of the ball, but they had 0 shot on target until his goal. They didn't create anything. There was, again, no structure in their play. There was just nothing. We hardly saw Foden passing the ball to one of the other attackers. Saka was poor. Bellingham was poor. Kane was terrible. Even defensively, where before we could have said, okay, maybe this is the only positive so far. Defensively, they were shocking tonight. Shocking. I mean, Walker on the right-hand side, the Slovakians kept going. It was like the freeway. It was just ridiculous. So as long as they're not in denial, and they are objective on how bad they've been today, and it's a miracle, really, that they've qualified, I'm okay with it.
It's this point in the show that I have to shoehorn Manchester United in again.
Oh, wow. Oh, there we are, 13 minutes in. There we
What
are.
a surprise.
There we go.
Oh, well, the
Cristiano Ronaldo as well for the...
Well, no, the reason I do that is I think the buck here stops with the manager. Yeah. England manager, who is in the England job and has done reasonably well with where he's taken them, but again, I think there's reasons for that. He was allegedly Ineos's main man to take over one of the biggest clubs on the planet, one of the biggest jobs, one of the most difficult jobs. Gareth Southgate, identified by Ineos. If you're a Man United fan watching this, that's telling you, like, I don't think they've got many more brains than the Glazers when it comes to picking people. Because Southgate at the end of this game said, in a couple of interviews, I never felt we were going to lose this game. 93. You never. What?
Did he really?
Yes. He said, I just always had a feeling we were going to get back in.
Oh, good. I'm glad you had the feeling.
Did you see the video of the England fans that actually left?
Yeah, that had left. Yeah, they could hear the roar.
They just had enough. But, you know, I'm...
What does it tell you about Southgate that he didn't make any changes at half-time?
Wow.
He's lost.
Do you think he's scared? Like,
yeah, that's what I thought. I thought he's gone, right, I took Kane and Foden and Saka off, but it was quite deep and it didn't really mean that much. But this is a knockout. Do I take off one of that 4? Or do I wonder if he just didn't want to make a change. Because I can't see any other reason.
You keep a player because you think that at some point he's going to do something special. That's
right.
We were talking about Bellingham. I think that Saka, at some point, or Foden, would have done something. But we saw throughout the game and throughout the previous game that it doesn't happen. And players like Palmer can take over and be better. So why do you hesitate? Is that because you're incompetent or because you don't see it or because you're scared? I don't know. Maybe the former coach can tell us. But I was amazed. You know what? I can compare with Didier Deschamps. You can say whatever you want about the way he makes his team play, but that's the way he wants them to play, and he has no fear whatsoever to change anybody if he doesn't feel.
The worst thing that's going to happen in this tournament, I think, is England to go deep, real deep now.
Oh, Switzerland will beat them.
And everybody, no, and I say this because I don't mean this badly on Southgate, but the people will come out and say, "Wow, you know, this is a great job." It's not. It's not. England for me, it's a bit. England for me are a side that if they're well, I'm not saying they're the best side in Europe. I'm not saying that because they have problematic areas. But if they were better coached by a real quality manager, I think they would be certainly playing a lot better than this and making the games a lot easier.
100%.
And I kind of worry a little bit that it'll be papered over again if they get to, like they have, a Euro Championships final, a World Cup semi-final, where, by the way, for the sake of repeating myself, Dalic at Croatia completely outflanked him in that game. And he was left, Gareth Southgate, with his coaches, staring into the abyss, didn't know how to change it. And I just think if we would be papering over a multitude of cracks within the way he goes about it if England go deep.
Here's the thing, to go back to your question. Sometimes you actually ask a question there really isn't an answer to.
Why he didn't make changes at half-time?
Because not just that. You've asked about 3 or 4 questions already in the space of, 17 minutes, where everybody's dumbfounded and we can't... You know, you're asking, what's Gareth Southgate's thinking? What an impossible question that is. All the things that we've said are all things that we're looking at a game thinking, he's got to change it. Why is he doing that? Right. Why would you not do this? Why? I mean, it is just question after question after question. So to try and get inside this guy's head and think why he does or doesn't do things is almost impossible. That's how far away from the so-called top coaches that this guy really is.
It's interesting, though, it's not just him. The players are substandard.
Absolutely.
You look at Harry Kane's performance in the 90 minutes, obviously didn't do much, had that header 8 foot wide, obviously then scores at the start of extra time. But it's players like that, surely your captain, your leader on the pitch, that you need to be that driving force.
They should, but it seems to be lost.
Right.
They don't know what to do. They don't know how to react, and there is a mix of feelings when you are one down, where you want to go for it, but you know that you have to be patient. But at the same time, you have the anxiety throughout the minutes and the minutes going on. So you have to use your experience and make sure that you have the captain, but also the skipper, meaning the coach of the team, who tells you what to do. Because it is what it is. You know, the coach, as you mentioned before, he has to tell you, okay, guys, we play higher, like 10 years higher on the field, and you make sure that you go on the side, and the message goes quickly. But it seems to be that you have no messages because he doesn't know what to do.
Right.
And players, they've tried stuff, they're not good, so they have their responsibilities, and they're in the middle of the park. They are in the middle of the battle. So sometimes it's hard to think through and to see clearly the game. So they need that help by the coach, and well, obviously they don't have it.
So many people that stuff Frank was talking about there about when you're on the field, you need to take care of things that are happening at the time that go against maybe what you've been told. But to have so many players who look as though they're lost is why you don't get any reaction at all on the field. And that is down to the manager. The manager, yes, he has to pick the right team and he has to get the tactics, but he also has to get everybody in a frame of mind to go and succeed. And every single time that England have stepped on the field, they haven't had that. And more importantly, any time that it's gone wrong, when you're looking for something to happen, nothing seems to happen.
Has Kane changed his game in this Euros?
Do you think he's fit?
How many times have we seen...
He's not right, is he, clearly?
He's not fit.
Well, how many times have we seen him... We saw it once today. Well, at least once. Correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know, because there's been a lot of games. When he dropped a little deeper and he played that great ball, the switchy play for Trippier, that Foden scored, he was offside. That's kind of what we expect sometimes from Harry Kane, or a lot from Harry Kane. It was a great ball, came short, switched to play. Slovakia was stretched. Foden was brain dead. He just had to hold his run. He stepped offside. But how many times have we seen Harry Kane do that during games? I don't remember him doing it a lot. Now, sometimes he does it a little bit too much, and you think, right, you don't need to come that deep. But quite a lot of times for Spurs, for Bayern, for England, he's dropped it a little bit deeper. Centre-halves don't know whether to come with him or not. And then he gets on the ball, he gets turned, or if the centre-half comes with him, there's a space for somebody to get in. I don't really remember him doing that. Now, it might be because Bellingham's playing as the number 10. I don't know, but...
Do you think it's possible that he puts a pressure on himself because, he went from Spurs to Bayern, never won anything. He didn't win the title in Bundesliga with Bayern. He knows that they are the favourites, so he wants to win, therefore puts a pressure on himself as a captain, therefore loses his football a little bit. Is that possible or not?
I don't know. You played, Frank.
Well, I've never been in that position,
but I tell you what, Frank. I tell you what we do know, Frank, is England players are smarting from any criticism that comes their way.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
It's not just Kane. There's Bellingham's been talking in press conference about pylons, he called it. Pylon. We know there's going to be a pylon. We know there's pressure. Listen, and so what that's telling me is that there's a lot of media talk behind the scenes. And listen, they're always, we always talk about press, guys. Oh, Johnny so-and-so gave me a 3 out of 10. But you don't make it a big story. And I feel that England,
you don't
behind
bring
the
it
scenes,
up.
are kind of, I feel it's eating away at them, that people have the audacity to question them.
Yeah, and Jules, this is the weird thing when you hear English players talk. As Craig said, Jude Bellingham said there's pile-on against us after the group stages. There's a pile-on against the Italians. There's a pile-on against the German performance. This isn't unique to... People aren't more critical in England than they are anywhere else in Europe, yet it seems that the English are smarting more from it than anyone else.
I don't know what planet they live on, really. And we go back to what I was saying earlier about being in denial or, lying to yourself in a way. Because if you, and I think we said it the other day on the show as well, this is not the Care Bear world. You're a professional football player. This is always going to come. You're never going to win every single game in your career. This is not possible. There will be times where the critics are out because you're just not good individually, collectively. Your team is not doing well. Your coach is bad. All of that. The boys have gone through it. Everybody, every player is going to go through it at some point in his career. And maybe in previous tournaments, which, by the way, Bellingham hasn't played many, but for the others, maybe because things were a bit better, semi-final, final, quarter-final in Qatar against the French. But so maybe the critics were not as heavy as this because this has been by far the worst tournament since Euro 2016, really. And today it felt very much like the Iceland of 2016. That was Slovakia today. Yep. For 30 seconds at the end, this is it. This is exactly the same scenario. It's the same game. Hodgson is like Southgate. And this is it, really. And we go back all that 8 years ago, really. So I'm not sure where planet they're coming from.
If you want a pile-on, you should have gone to Buenos Aires for 10 years before they won the World Cup. Yep. Messi was getting, and there was only one guy. The one guy was getting most of it, if not all of it. I mean, that's a proper pile-on.
Yes.
Particularly what the South American guys were getting with the pressure down there, Brazil, Argentina, so forth and so forth. That's before you even get to countries that are way more successful than England: France, Germany, Italy, and all these others. So it's almost like an entitlement. I do feel that some of these players feel entitled. And that's strange because most of them, it would seem, the clubs are down-to-earth, kind of, rounded guys. But it seems this tournament is almost like an entitlement about, listen, just let us do and don't criticise us. And actually, it's not a good look.
Is that message coming for the staff? Because as players, we listen to Bellingham talking nonsense about how well they played, but he can't actually believe that. And as players, you don't play at this level unless you understand when you're doing okay or you're not. And when you're not doing okay and you get pelters, that doesn't upset you because you know you're not doing well. It's when you're actually doing well and people are criticising you, then it's like, hold on a second, why are you criticising? Not when you're playing like this. But if they don't understand how bad they are, where's that coming from? Is it the staff? Keep telling them that, listen, don't worry. We've heard Southgate in particular. Every time he's been on, he said how difficult it is to beat anybody in international football. Yeah. So if he's firing that message on all the time, is it in their head? Are they thinking, this is hard, why are they going to go at us?
So you've got 6 days now to prepare for Switzerland.
Oh, get a dartboard.
We know...
Get your dartboard out, get all the players' names, put it on end of a dart, throw it at the board.
We know that Gay's not on the board, obviously. He's suspended. There'll be one change.
Konza, Gomez or Dunk.
There's no reason from what we've seen that Southgate will do anything else but put out that same team.
That's a worry, isn't it?
Well, it wouldn't be a surprise, though. It wouldn't be a surprise.
Probably going to be the same front four.
Yep.
Unless he does play Bukayo Saka at left back or left wing back, he might change the shape. I don't know. No idea. I would think Mina would play with Declan Rice. I don't think there's much debate about that.
Rightfully, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm not blaming this on any of the youngsters with limited experience. But even before this tournament started, talking about Luke Shaw maybe being fit for this game, who's not played since February. What kind of mindset is that? And you go, look, you've not played, you've had a few training sessions, go and play in the quarterfinals of a Euros. That kind of talk, it's almost like saying, the rest of them, not very good, going to play this guy. But this talk about the media against us is just a complete no-no. The media would be splattering all the greatest stuff on the planet if England play great and win this thing. They're out for, when you play badly, they're out for a headline. and England are giving them certainly enough ammunition at the moment. But Stevie and I talked about the Italy-Switzerland game, how we didn't believe Italy are a very good side, and I think that was shown. They're absolutely bang average. Switzerland are no world beaters, but they've got good game nous, good understanding of game awareness. And at the moment, I still would fancy the way the Swiss are playing over the way the English are playing.
Yeah, if it wasn't England on the name and you saw these 4 games, well, they haven't got a chance.
No, of course they're not. And if they play like that, they won't have a chance against the Swiss because, as you mentioned, Craig, they're very solid. They know exactly where they go. They have a tactic, and the coach is very influential in that matter. And so far, they've been perfect. I mean, close to perfect. They've done what they had to do, what everybody was expecting, which is far away from the English squad. So, you know, I see England, yesterday I said in my prediction that England will go to the final. But because I really thought, like everybody else, they're going to wake up. Like Jude said, today it's going to be a knockout stages. It's different than the group stages. But I didn't see that. And so I don't see them going through against the Swiss if they carry on like that.
Unless he makes changes.
But he's not going to.
Well, they're not going through then.
Well, isn't it? That's it. Like, why?
Well, we're back to where we
what have we
started.
seen?
We're back to where we started.
Exactly.
Is he going to go again with Saka on one side and Foden on the other?
Of course he is.
That has not worked at all. That's 4 games on the trot. That it's not only not worked, it's been atrocious.
Yeah.
And as bad as most of them have been, there's no way you start the next game without Cole Palmer.
He came on. We're going back to half-time
And
again. We're almost back
he
to...
looked as though he was in a different league
If you don't
to
make
the rest
changes
of
at
them.
half-time after that first half, you're never going to make changes.
So there was no way he
has
wasn't
to.
making changes.
There
was no way. It was like, right. It was actually quite intriguing, wasn't it, to sit and go, right, I wonder who it's going to be.
And then Ian Dark goes, no changing.
Even Ian went, well, I can't believe I'm saying it. But, you know, look, it's not just, this is from England's perspective, it's not just that this magnificently talented front line, and it is not functioning properly at the back.
Yeah.
So even Slovakia, who again, I use the phrase limited, and they are, they took their goal well. How many balls were they able to fizz across that 6-yard box, particularly in the first half? Even in injury time and extra time, they were still a threat. Crosses into the box. You know, this England defence, it looks wobbly as well. And then people have said, well, the defensive record in this competition thus far has been pretty good, and it has. But again, you know, when the opposition are not offering up too much, you're going to look better than you are. So I think his problems are absolutely at both ends of the field.
Let's just remind you then how the bracket looks after today's result. Of course, after knocking out Italy, we know that it will be Switzerland against England. That is next Saturday.